I am not okay. Like, hey, yay, look, we get to see what happens to Ursok when he's finally cleansed of a nightmare. And he goes to his afterlife to rejuvenate and come back. No, that's not how that worked. Nope. Sorry, Guardian Druids. Blizzard hate, love, and happiness bears confirmed. Okay, I guess I should probably make some coherent sense about the cinematic now. I saw it, it came out at 6 o'clock. It's currently 13 minutes past 6. I have a week off, so you're getting a much more immediate reaction this week. That being said, we will go through it frame by frame just like we have been doing for all of the previous ones and talking about the things as they happen, which means I'm going to be suffering heartbreak for a second time for you. Before I do though, I've just noticed that Blizzard tweeted out, the quote they tweeted out was from earlier on in the cinematic where it said, "Return to the forest beyond until you serve the wilds again." I didn't know that serving the wilds again meant that. No, not like this. Blizzard, not like this. How dare! Okay, fine, let's do this. So this cinematic continues the theme of opening with a death. So I guess we're going to see that for every single cinematic, and unless Revendreth comes out next week and proves me wrong. And then, you know, at some point I've got to make a stand and put my stick in the ground and say that yes, this is clearly a theme, except this time Ursok wasn't really the main character, I would say, but he was definitely one of the main characters until he, you know, got removed from existence. But I do like how he opened with this really, like, claustrophobic, in-your-face, like, madness bear that we see during the Emerald Nightmare raid back at the beginning of Legion, when Ursok is affected with a nightmare, and then we see his death, and we see, we don't hear anything from Malfurion, but we see Malfurion basically, like, you know, we've all played the raid, we've had that heartbreak already. For some of us, we've had the heartbreak of the hidden artifact skin refusing to drop, but that's a heartbreak for an entirely different kind of player. I play a balanced druid, so I care in a very Lunar Strike kind of a way right now. The joke was that Lunar Strike is Lunar because I'm sad, but I don't think the joke was very funny. I'm just sad, I'm too sad to be funny. I gotta say seriously though, I really do like that shot of Malfurion with his hand on Ursok, just like watching him die. It's so sad. It's probably really hard to draw sadness when the character in question has like really glowy eyes and like no pupils or anything like that, but they did it really well with body language here. And then I return to the long slumber, which is what he says. I think that's what he says in the raid. I haven't done it in a little bit, but that is the true tragedy of this fucking piece. Most characters, when they die in World of Warcraft, before Shadowlands got announced, we didn't know really what happened to them. We had ideas. It was kind of, with Arthas, for instance, it was suggested that he was languishing within the blade of Frostmourne and all this kind of stuff, which is a whole different conversation now that we know that he's in the Maw instead. But yeah, with certain other characters having certain other beliefs, some said, you know, in the light we are one, others were like, oh yeah, there's nothing after death, all this kind of stuff. Well, now we know for sure that Shadowlands is a thing. But one thing we've always had, as a constant, is to not be too sad when wild gods die, because they always go on about how they return, like, they kind of regenerate. Like, Cenarius did this, like, he got killed by, I wanna say, Gromash back in one of the Warcraft games. And he regenerated and he came back, and it's like that's something we know that the world gods can do. So when Ursok died, it was sad, but it was like, well, he'll be back one day. It's like we had that security of knowing. Like, unlike any other kind of character in World of Warcraft, we had that security for this one thing. And this is the one character we've seen so far where we've seen that actually their soul got completely erased. How horrible, how tragic. And that brings up an entire fucking conversation about, is it worse to end up in the Shadowlands in a life of service, or is it worse to cease existing? And some of us will be very scared of oblivion, and others will be like, well, what's there to be scared of if you're not going to be around to experience it, that kind of thing. That's a whole huge existential conversation to be having for a video game cinematic, so we won't be having it here. But if you ask me personally, I've always loved the idea of reincarnation. Like, I don't know that I necessarily believe in it, but I think out of all of them it's the most possible, given that we are like born of like stardust and just shit that came together and happened to make us, and when we die some of that energy's got to go somewhere. We won't have our memories or ourselves or anything like that, but I take some very, very brief solace in the idea that, like, some part of us lives on somewhere else as something else, you know? And I was going into this expansion going, good, Ardenweald will probably appeal most to me then, because that is the one that seems to be all about reincarnation. Except today I learned that the plotline of Ardenweald is what happens when there's an anima drought and you have to literally sacrifice souls to non-existence in order to make sure that the entire realm continues to function. That's fucking dark, Blizzard. I was ready for fairies and blues and peacefulness and, you know, maybe some encroaching threat, but nothing like this. What the fuck? Sorry, back to the video. The establishing shot of Ardenweald is beautiful, and the crazy thing is that it's also almost that beautiful in game as well. I've seen streams and stuff. I haven't seen too much of it, but it's an astoundingly beautiful zone, and as someone whose favourite zone in game is Shadowmoon Valley, the Draenor version, I think I'm in for a good time. Also, it's super sad, Ursoc sounds like he's almost like happy to be going back to Ardenweald. He's like, well, I'm dying and that was horrible what just happened to me, but at least I'm going back to Ardenweald to regenerate. The music for when the Afterlives Ardenweald title card pops up is really good as well. It's not better than Bastion, but it's close. It's really nice. So yeah, then transitions into this cute little Sylvan dude doing his job. Is he called a Sylvan? I still don't know. I don't even know his name. I don't think it was mentioned. We're about to find out if I just skipped past it on my first viewing, but we'll find out all the same. But he looks happy. He's like a keeper of souls. He's doing his job. He's keeping the place tidy. Yeah. Trying to get away from sadness for at least a few moments. Oh, the little bear rumble when he touches Ursoc's little Pokeball fruit drop thing. It's cute. It's like he's having a nice little regenerative nap. So Sylvan Goat Dude person thing says, well, basically when his queen appears, he basically says, oh, I swear I'll take care of these souls through their winter and everything. It makes me wonder if he's new to his job, like if he's one of the newer souls in the Shadowlands and he's not used to the way things work yet. And it's also interesting that she doesn't say anything to him. She just kind of smiles at him and, you know, kind of whisks herself away. She's very mysterious. But I kind of feel like that's a trope I've seen before when it comes to like a Mother Nature style character, if you know what I mean. Just like airiness, windiness, quietness. It's just, yeah, it's all about creating an idea of peace. Her eyebrows do be on point now. What do sleeping bear gods dream of? What do sleeping dead bear gods dream of while they're regenerating, do you think? That's what I want to know. Jeez, how unfortunate is it that Ursoc, he was the victim of both the corruption of the Emerald Dream and its almost counterpart, the Ardenweald place. It's like one symbolises summer and spring and life, and it's like, oh dear, oh no, corruption, this beautiful place has been corrupted, and now he's been corrupted and he dies horribly. And then he goes to regenerate in this other very natural place of winter, of autumn and winter. Well, I don't know if it's really autumnal, but of winter and like regeneration and resting and hibernation. And oh no, now that's in peril too, and he's a victim of that too. Poor Ursoc, man, Jesus Christ. The juxtaposition of the lovely scene before with all of the blues, and then the cut to like just like the like dead brown and yellow of like there's no energy here, there's no anima, everything's dried up and dying. And you can see all of the smaller pods around Ursoc have also shriveled and died as well. It's horrible. It gives you your first inkling of just what's going on with this story and where it might be leading. Oh no, protect my boy, protect my berry boy, no. The small little drop of anima that he feeds Ursoc, is that in, you have to question, like, is that in itself another soul? What is anima? Like, is that another soul that could have been nurtured into health that he's feeding Ursoc? Because in that case, what he does at the end of his cinematic to Ursoc to feed to the rest of Ardenweald is just like a grander scale of what he's already been doing. Is there a difference between the souls that sleep in those pods and raw anima? I have questions, Blizzard. Questions to stave off the sadness. Do souls need anima to regenerate? But then, like, souls are anima. So, the wild gods just regenerate based on, like, feeding off the lives of others? Because that's kind of a fucked up take on things. Maybe we'll find out all the little tidbits about this in game, maybe not. Maybe it's just something I'm overthinking. It's interesting how the colours used for the fight scene are the same colours that are used of Ursoc's death scene where he's being corrupted with a nightmare, it's definitely intentionally mirrored the way that scene plays out, of like the rage and the feralness of like swiping each other and trying to kill each other, but this time it's like to protect and like not some kind of corruptional madness. I'm trying to figure out what the parallel they're trying to instill in people here is, because it's definitely intentional, but why? Are you trying to like get across the idea that people who are corrupted in Ardenweald are done so by the idea that not allowing souls to be sacrificed is a bad thing? Because that seems like kind of a fucked up message to tell. I don't know. So there's a shot shortly after our Sylvan dude. If he's not a Sylvan, by the way, I'm about to look very stupid in a few months. But there's a shot shortly after he's attacked the Wild Hunt dudes, where the Winter Queen arrives, and he's stood in front of Ursok protecting him. And the shot you see of the Winter Queen is very imposing. Very almost threatening in like her body language and the way her face is drawn, and her eyes you can't really see, you just know that they're glowy. She almost looks wrathful in a way, but then later on you get a close-up and you see how sad she is and how she doesn't want to be doing this, and she actually speaks and says some stuff that we'll get to in a minute. But I think it's very interesting because that's the nature of what's going on here, is that at first it looks really insidious and evil and bad, but then whether you agree with it or not, the way the narrative tells it is it's actually something they don't want to be doing. It's being done for a reason, for the greater good, as one might say, which, you know, something you'd expect to see in Revendreth, not so much Ardenweald. It's also worth noting that our protagonist is one of the only characters in all of these Afterlives shorts who does not have glowy magical eyes. He just has natural brown eyes, and I think that's important because it's like he's like down to earth. There's nothing external about him. There's nothing motivating him other than the desire to do good, the desire to nurture souls. Like, he's just natural. It's interesting that the Winter Queen is able to show him a vision purely through the use of her eyes. I don't know what kind of magic that is, but she's like, hey, look, this is what's going to happen. Horrible vision of Ardenweald crumbling to dust, and basically saying that if we don't do something terrible now, something unspeakably horrible will happen later. Also, goddamn guys, what is it? What is it with trees? Do Blizzard just hate trees or something? Why are we always got to see trees falling and burning and dying? I am curious as to how they did that shot of a tree starting to fall over, because it almost looks 3D, and a lot of this stuff is painted frames. And while a lot of it is just transition from one frame to the next frame, there is also a lot of more subtle animation stuff, but nothing that looked quite as smooth as that tree falling down. It didn't look out of place though, so I don't know if that was some new technique they employed within this art style for these cinematics. Side note, one of the dudes in the Wild Hunt kind of looks like a night elf, or maybe one of those one of those dudes who's basically like Cenarius with like the 4 legs and then he's got the upper half of a night elf. He looked like one of those dudes. Will you sacrifice one soul for the forest entire? So that basically means that Ursok was such a powerful soul with so much anima that he could basically keep the forest running for a little bit. At least that's what we're led to believe. Or will you keep your oath? Which is an interesting way of saying that, yeah, we understand why you're doing what you're doing, but it's wrong. And then I think it says a lot about the Winter Queen that she's going to honour the choice of this guy, even if that choice means dooming Ardenweald. Like, I don't know if maybe he said, no, you can't have Ursok or whatever. I don't know if that then meant, like, she would, like, turn around and actually fight him and be like, no, and, like, show an evil side to her or something like that. But I think what the cinematic was trying to get at was that, like, these are all characters that care for each other very much, and none of them like to be doing what they're doing right now. The Winter Queen here is shown to be this extremely sympathetic character, and to be honest, I think maybe the earlier shot of her looking menacing is just to establish that she has that power and she could exercise it if she wanted to, but clearly, as we see here, she's not going to. She's leaving the choice up to Ursok's protector, whose name I still don't fucking know. And then we get a nice amount of silence as he ponders his decision. It wasn't immediate. It took a long time of like, man, I really don't want to fucking do this. And then the goddamn fucking music swells and he says, oh, one last time. I'm like, no! And while this is all being presented in a very sad and quiet and wholesome manner, it's also kind of fucked up that, you know, he might be in there going, no, no, please, no. Like, you don't know what Ursoc wants. There's no indication that he approves or that he agrees with what's about to happen to him. He has no control over his fate here. His fate lies entirely within the hands of these people, and for the greater good, they're basically being like, yeah, we gotta get rid of you. Sorry, you don't get to exist anymore. Dude, when a nature-aligned character is gonna get a fucking win? And then you hear a little noise, which is like a bear going to sleep as the light fades out. More importantly though, what does the wild hunt actually do? Does it go to other groves and do this all the time? Is that the entire purpose of a wild hunt? And in game, are the wild hunt gonna be, are they gonna be positioned as like this bad like force like that we have to deal with, or are they gonna be what we join up for as people who want to be part of that covenant? Because I don't know if my druid would be on board with that, like even if it is to save Ardenweald, like come on man, I don't know. I do like the little touch at the end where he says, I swear it, and then he's like, I swear it. Like he re-emphasizes it, and then he furrows his brow in determination. That's a good character. I'm looking forward to learning more about this character. I like him. He's cute. What can I say? I want to hug him and tell him everything's gonna be okay. Anyway, everything was not okay. Poor Ursoc. Have I said that enough in this video, or podcast, or whatever the heck you're listening to? Okay, that's the end of this video. Man, I was like, can't wait for the Ardenweald one, and then like 10 minutes before Twitter, who was it? It was the WoW dev who has his picture as a carrot, Zorbrix. He said, prepare thyself, and then he posted the picture, lie down, try not to cry, cry a lot, and I just went, oh no. Oh no. No. Anyways, thank you for listening to my take on Afterlives Ardenweald. I cannot wait to see other YouTubers throughout the week pick this apart and show me everything I've missed. Because I mean, when I watched the Maldraxxus one, I didn't peg to the whole Legion stuff until like half an hour to an hour afterwards. So if there's something I've just blatantly missed, that was really obvious. I do apologise, but I actually don't think that this cinematic was that deep. Like the Bastion one was front-loaded with loads of like really cool lore moments from pre-established characters and kind of continuing stories from years ago. And then the Maldraxxus one was simple on the surface, but the more you dug into it, the more complexity there was. I think this one is the first truly simple one of like, here's what happened, like, you know, it's pretty simple, bam, 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 bam. Ursoc's soul reached Ardenweald, he was going to get taken care of, then the anima drought happened, and you had the difficult decision of sacrificing Ursoc's soul. I'm going to stop thinking about it now, and go away and do something happy. Bye-bye. One final side note before I render this, I've just discovered that the Sylvan dude is called Aralon. Well met, Aralon.